with the one and only Mel B. So I met Mel actually through Mog Park through JD Estrada. That's how I met you.
Right.
Actually, JD recommended me to you guys, and yeah, you guys are pretty cool. Like I'm really happy I got to meet and know you. I would not be drawing without you guys, so I guess I owe you a big thanks for that.
Always the well, always looking to recruit new people into our craft. So it's great to see that. Yeah. And you've
Yeah,
progressed quite a bit too from the stick figures you started out with.
yeah. Oh yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
I'm almost good. I'm almost good.
Yeah. You know, you're putting like muscles and shapes into the body. So yeah, you've progressed quite a bit there. I
Yeah.
saw one of your latest postings, and yeah, I think you're ready to come out and put out there.
Oh no, so here's what I'm doing. This is the scary thing. I'm drawing my next book. Like, but it's not like a full comic book. It's a novella, but I'm actually putting some pictures in there. It's
Okay.
my homage to Fahrenheit 451. I'm a big Ray
Mm,
Bradbury fan,
okay.
and so what I decided to do, like, learning to read is a very powerful thing, but so is learning to draw. Like any kind of art form that lets you communicate and do empathy of some kind or other. They're all powerful. So I thought if I reimagined the story a little bit and added some stuff that the pandemic made me think about even before some of the things that have happened in the last few days. And so I came up with a book called Lights Out, where for instead of going to jail, you get completely cut off from technology for 30 days as a sentence, and you have to
I
do some
see.
form of community service. But I kept the ideas like the thing about Fahrenheit 451, what I really loved about it was it explored the whole concept of what is happiness, and I really like it made me think about that. I read that when I was 15. The first time I
Uh-huh.
read it, it was like I never thought about the world like that before until I read that book. So I thought I'll write it, and then as things have progressed, he doesn't actually need to be a very good artist. It's like, wait, I'm not very good yet. I could do this, right? And then, right, the story I can tell here is right where my skill level needs to be for him. So I
Hmm.
can do that now.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing. So I don't know how many pictures it's going to end up being of my stuff. It's going to be mostly black and white, but there's going to be color at the end of it. So
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting progression. But I made some storytelling decisions already, so now we're going to see how it all kind of goes together.
Good. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to be good. Excellent in the craft. As long as you do an excellent way in how you tell your story, express your emotion, right? You can see it like even in like when I'm a big fan of like The Voice and all that stuff. And I like watching it because you can tell the ones that there's the singers that sing good, and there was the ones that are kind of like okay, but the ones that are okay tend to they're trying to find ways on how they can be better and still stand above those that sing really good. So they'll try to be more emotional, they'll try to put more emotion into it, right? So that you have that added depth into their song. Same thing with writing, right?
Yeah.
It's anybody can tell a story,
Yeah.
but can you tell a story? Can you move people? Can you get that emotion across so that way they feel it in their hearts and get moved by it? Because then if you can do that, you've made a connection that they're not going to forget and that they can talk about.
No, that's absolutely the truth, right? I find like my limitations make me think about how I tell stories, right? Because again, I know what I can't do, but it's like, okay, so now what can I do? And it makes
Yeah.
me think about those things in terms of skill sets and stuff like that. I again, but also like what I read and what I listen to and all that stuff influences it too. Like I'm a big, um, I love Japanese light novels, so like me doing a book like this
Hmm.
fits because I like that. Like I do think those are
Yeah.
really cool in terms of what they accomplish in those books is incredible to me, and I love
Hmm.
that formula. So I'm a big fan of. I'm a comic book guy too, so it's like this is my wheelhouse. So I don't necessarily need to do. I don't know if I'll ever get to the point where I'm doing panel by panel um, comics. I'm not sure I'm that kind of illustrator, but one or two like pictures here and there to add to enhance the story I'm trying to tell of a book, I can totally see myself doing that, right? So
now, were you trying to get like trying to hire other artists for other projects that you have going on, or
oh yeah, no. So my next book, not this one, but the next one, I'm working with on. So,
you know that's one of my favorite girls.
oh no, she's, oh no. It's like me and her have, like, so she was my first drink and draw. So I always think I'm always going to be thankful to her because she made me look at like drawing in a very cool way, and it's definitely shaped my style. I would go so far to say, you guys kind of gave me no excuses. You got to come and draw. Okay. But Anj gave me a path on how to do it. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I always hold her in high regard. Now, something that I can't talk about on the air have just recently happened, so I don't know if it's going to happen exactly when I would like it to happen. But no, I'm a big fan of her as a person, and I want to work with her, if that makes sense. Like, she's the kind of person I want to work with. We came up with a really cool story. She's into it. I'm actually sending her the first couple chapters of it this weekend. It's a novel, so she's not doing it like comic book. I don't want her to do that. I want her to
more
have
of an illustrative
yeah
deal that you got going with her.
Yeah. No, because also the really thing I discovered about her, she's a big old school pulp fan. Like, ultimately, like, she's a big, like, she likes that kind of stuff. This is perfect for her. We've talked about some of like the designs and things that are kind of planned and built, and she's actually given me some good ideas for the novel too already, which is just our conversations. So this is something like I want Anvu to tell me her take on the tale as much, but do it in a way that fits her style, and she's perfect for the story, right? So I want to do it. She wants to do it. Let's hope all the stars align the way they hopefully need the stars to align. But yeah, no, I'm.
Have you contracted her already for that, or is that still in negotiations?
That's still somewhat in negotiation at this moment in time. We've talked in principle what that's going to go for, right? We haven't signed anything because, again, well, here's the thing about me. I don't like breaking promises. I'm not going to make and this is the thing. I guess just the ups and downs of being a freelancer. Sometimes things don't happen, but like, it's a bumpy ride sometimes. I never want to put her or anybody I work with in a position where I can't fulfill something, right? Shit happens. Like, everybody understands that, but I'm never going to outright say, look, I'm going to do this. Look, I'm going to do that. No, I'm going to keep my word. If I can't keep my word, I just will not work with her. That's just basically because I would rather she get paid. She's worth way more than what I can pay her. I'm being perfectly blunt on that, right? But and I say that, and I say that with all the respect in the world. But I want her. She deserves the opportunities, and like I said, we'll figure it out. Like we've talked about her worth, her value privately as well, because she's amazing. Like, legitimately speaking, I want to work with her now before someone whisker her away forever and ever and ever. But like, I really wanted to work with you.
Yeah. You're gonna have to grab her fast because there are other people that are like looking at her and they want to do work with her.
Oh
so
no,
I've been kind of like guiding her on how to do business, just to make sure that everything is like up and up. And we understand that everybody's at different levels financially, but there's ways to work around that so that way nobody is you don't get broke at it. No, there's a way to do that, and when the time comes, she'll talk to you about that and how that can go forward without a strain on you or her.
So, I know. Like I said, I'll talk to you about what just happened off the air. I had a very weird week last week, so it was just like it was just never experienced this. I can't talk about this on the air yet because I'm still technically doing stuff for her. But but it's one of those situations where it's I don't think it's going to be a long-term monkey wrench, but it might be like, okay, let's do it. Again, same thing. The key to a good business relationship is to be open and honest with the people you're doing business with. As long as there's communication, shit can happen, and by and large, people are okay with it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's always, we all expect that.
Yep.
Nothing. There's no plan that there's hardly ever a plan I've laid out that has gone 100% correctly. Okay,
No,
nothing.
no, I know. I actually
Even
am a
some
little
of the smallest plans, you think
go to
it's real
shit.
easy.
Yeah. No,
Something
and
comes
here's the
up.
thing. I get scared when it works perfectly. I legitimately get a little scared. It's like, wait, what? What do you mean this happened without a hitch?
Yeah.
So it's something like there's a little bit of that. Because again, it's the nature of the beast. There's a struggle with it, and I totally know that. Like, no, no, like I said, but
Marg asks me, "How do you do it, Mel?" This stuff comes up, and for her, she gets all frustrated and she wants to slam the door, punch the walls. And I was like, okay, well, this is what it is. Right? This is.
Mhm.
Let's try to see if we can do it like this, work around it.
Mhm.
You know,
No, it
you just
totally.
get used to it. That shit, shit
Well,
happens.
you just know it not like it's not a perfect world. Like it's
No,
just
it's not.
not.
No.
So, like a perfect world is something that it magically works out, and most people don't have that steady thing. Fact of the matter is, right? Um, that's why no plan. Every plan is a good plan until the first thing happens, and then the plan kind of sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Generally, you hope it works, but that kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah.
um, what I've learned in life is, but Bubble, I worked for someone who did like this is the other end of it too. I've worked for people who never come through,
Yeah.
but right.
Yeah. That's
I
more.
actually,
That's more. That's very common,
yeah, yeah,
especially in this business.
yeah. I drop you hard now. Like I don't have the same patience for it. So it's just one of those situations where I've always made myself this promise. I am not in a position where I can say I'm timely yet. I can't say that, but I always try to keep my promises. It bothers me when people may say shit and don't follow through, and I
Mm-hmm.
hold probably an even harder standard on myself than when I do other people. I can be a lot more if I understand what's going on, I can be very forgiving. If that makes sense, right? If
Yeah.
I know that shit happened, this is what happened. This is okay, cool. Then I can understand what's going on. If no one tells me anything, it's okay. Then like that's when I get annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's like if you tell me something comes up and there's a problem, okay, and it just happens, I understand. But if you wait and then you tell me, and I've missed some opportunities where I can correct it or provide a proper solution to correct it, then that's good. That irritates me because now you're holding back,
yeah,
and we need to meet. We constantly need to have things move forward. I'm forgiving up to a certain extent, but then after that,
and that's
I'll
fair.
try to deal with it and so forth. But if it happens too much, and then we really got to work this out.
Well, so for me, it's like this. I'm very forgiving about. So there are four reasons to hire and fire somebody, like to fire somebody. The one I'm most forgiving of is they're not ready. As long as it's early enough where it's not too much time is wasted, I don't feel bad about that. Like that's just a situation. It just didn't work out. I'm good with it. You're good. Like, but it just didn't work out. I'm very forgiving on that one, right? Emotional instability, family member dies, something like that happens, like a big thing. I'm forgiving as long as there's a line with that, but I'm relatively forgiving there. If right, if they
Mhm.
don't if they don't communicate or don't listen to you when you're working together, that's a big red flag.
Yep.
Or and I've had this as a freelancer and as a right, they don't follow. They just don't do what you ask them to do,
Hmm.
right? Fireball, fire like these two, I pretty much don't forgive. It's pretty hard to come back from that, right? Unless you have a better way. If you show me a better way, I'll shut the fuck up. But you gotta have that better way. The other two, I'm more apt to forgive, right? Because if you're not ready, that just means that's right now. Tomorrow, who can say, right? Who can say about tomorrow that you're not ready. It can happen tomorrow, and it's all good. But again, the only line there is how much time am I wasting? I don't want to. I don't want to do that. And then finally, like I said, that's pretty much it. And but again, most of this is all about communication. As long as the communication is good, right? Even if they want to put me on hold, if they want to, if things happen where we can't do this project right now. Like I had a situation that happened with one of my books. I had hired somebody. I had something very unexpected come up, and I'm like, okay, we got to push this back 6 months. I'm sorry, but just this came up, and there's nothing I can do about it. I got to fix this. And she's like, okay, we understood. Come back when you're ready. And when I was ready, we came back and we finished the project. That kind of thing. It's just about, but if you're honest about it and if you're willing to pay, and people tend to give you that benefit of the doubt. That's what I've learned. Maybe that's just me, but that's what I've learned.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on maybe the industry and stuff but like before Mug, I had another production studio going, and we did a lot of work with tried to do a lot of work with Hollywood, and stuff got delayed, pushed back so many times. You're green lighted, and then it gets dry when you think everything's like ready to go.
Yeah.
So we expect that. It's like after you go through that a few times, you're not riding that high horse very often. You're like walking the horse, waiting to see what's going to happen.
Hollywood, I've been on, like, I've worked with someone that's worked with, like, in Hollywood a couple times. It is a weird machine. It's a weird machine.
It is.
Lots
you
of
never know
business
what's going to happen.
Oh God, no. Sometimes you think you have it, and then you can lose it within an hour. I've seen that. It's like, how did that happen? Somebody had a whim change, and you're like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the thing about that. It's strange, but
it is very strange.
It is where a lot of, well, entertainment's evolving a little bit, but it's still one of the meccas of entertainment. And as long as it is that way, it's still going to be a weird place to work.
Yeah, and it's hard to break in. No, there's no clear way on how to really get in. So like when Mog and I got together, and then she told me her ideal thing that she'd like to work on is Game of Thrones. They didn't even announce like Game of Thrones yet, and I'm thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? So I decided, you know what, let's go fishing, right? So I just posted. I told her to do some drawings on Game of Thrones. She did like 6 illustrations, and I put them up on DeviantArt. And because I know those guys are they go through there a lot, right? And lo and behold, it eventually got us yeah, and even then, you're still not sure. Like when your hook is bit, you're going, okay, let's see if I can reel this in now.
Well, because it can change like that, right? And you're just like, and there's not like you're basically like riding a lightning bolt. Like basically, it's just gonna go wherever it damn well pleases.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then when we got in, we got a green light, or we got a foot in the door actually, and then we had to wait a year.
Yeah.
To see if we actually got in, and I'm going. You're over there just praying and standing on pins and needles, hoping that they give you that final call, that final go ahead. Okay, you're clear to go. Here's your first assignment.
Yeah. So and then there she is, and and she kicked all kinds of ass. Mm-hmm. By the way, really love Snowpaw. That was good. That was really good.
You should. I think she's heard it from you already, but I'll
she has. Again. Yeah, no, I just since you brought Mog up, so far it's one of my favorite books this year. So it's just like,
that's good to hear. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a scale. When's this shoot due? No, I'm kidding. It's I know you guys. But it's cool. Like I try. I have to be careful how nice I am with her because she gets really uncomfortable. I get really nice with her. So, but no, kudos to her and to you as well. I mean, you guys have carved, like you are carving your niche, and it's really cool to see where it's going. But I'm just very curious. Like, so I mean, people know Mog a little bit more than you. I mean, I know that's by design. That is by design to some degree, but you have your own aspiration. Like we have talked about comics and stuff off, like in other areas for like hours. So I'm just like, for you, how did you get involved in all of this? And all the while, I'm going to start grabbing like what I'm going to be drawing tonight. I saw your drink and draw for the month as covers. I love me the last Ronin.
Nice.
Yeah, I love me the last Ronin. So I'm
How
going to
try. How did I get involved with what?
Like how? No, not with Mog. Like you had your own entertainment dreams. We'll get to how you got involved with Mog maybe a little bit down this conversation. But for you personally, it sounds like you've always had like a love of entertainment and wanting to get involved in the industry. So where does that come from?
Well, I've always loved movies. Okay, but I've been a long time comic book collector. I started about when I believe I was like 13. We were going to on vacation to the Philippines, and we're in the military base. And I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do to occupy myself for 13 hours of flight and layovers. Back in the 70s, there's not much. You don't have a Walkman or anything like that. Transistor radio ain't going to work that well on a plane up in the air.
Oh God, no.
You don't have a phone either.
No.
So it's like books and magazines and stuff like that. Well, for a kid, you're not going to buy like Mechanic or anything like that. So I ended up like picking up some comic books, and that's how I got started collecting. And that carried all the way through up to college, where I had to like drop it because college was just like way too expensive. But then when I got out, man, it was like a good time to get back in. This was in the early 80s. There's a lot of things that were happening then. There's a lot of things that happened before, and I was trying to catch up with it. And then there was all these guys that were just like coming out. Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, all those guys, Mike Zeck. They were all coming out with their brand of art and reviving the industry. Now, it was falling behind the sports industry because that collecting market was just exploding. Right? People were like making a lot of money. Like they'd buy stuff, put it away for 1 year, and then sell it for like make 3-5 times enough that they got it for. So comics was falling behind that. But then when the 90s came, through the 80s, actually, it was actually pretty good because Silver Age had cycled back in. So Silver Age books were really, really popular. At that time, I was living in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Then I moved up to California. I was following my job. I was an IT person. I worked my way up to become like a director of the company up in San Francisco. And then that's what happened. So comics was like doing good. I got into the convention scene, saw how much money was being made there. And I was going, you know what? I think I could do this. One of my dreams was to have like a comic book shop. So
that's a good dream.
Yeah, I quit my job, got a comic book store, became a comic book dealer. Did that all the way through 2006. Started in like I think 88.
Ooh.
Ended up in 2006 where I thought I was gonna end it all and just move away because at that time the economy wasn't doing so well. I said, well, you know what, I think it's had its run already, and it's time to move on. And I was going to go do something else. And then I met Mog, and then I got pulled back in.
All right, before we get to Mog, I just got to ask, what was your favorite stuff? Like you mentioned some of your favorite artists, but what was your favorite stuff throughout that whole era?
Man, one of the comic books that really moved me was Jim Starlin with the death of Captain Marvel.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So yeah,
that's a good.
Yeah, because you're reading it and you don't understand, like, what's going on? Why is what's killing it, right? And then you get to the end and you find out that it's cancer, right? And Jim did a very good way in telling that how this cancer has no boundaries, right? And he expanded on that it's killing this alien, even though it was a fictional character in a way, And then the thing was, it becomes more important to me because in 2015, my father had passed away because of cancer as well. So it became even more profound for me. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so for me, like, if you were telling me my all-time favorite era of comics, it was the mid '80s to early '90s. I think the best stories were from that era.
Okay.
Now don't get me wrong. There's other good books
Oh,
in other
no.
eras, but
Oh, definitely.
that era
Definitely.
to me was really good because I thought you had okay. This is the thing. You had mentioned some of the artists. You had George Perez on his A game.
Hmm.
You had Peter David with his Hulk run, which was amazing.
Peter David is a
Right?
great writer.
Oh,
He is
he's
an awesome writer.
he's still a little underrated. People know how good he is, but you
Hmm.
don't. There are so few writers that can do so much range of emotion as Peter David does. He can make you laugh and cry in the same comic.
Have
Not
you
many,
have you read his editorials in the Comic Buyer's Guide?
but I digress. That was
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes. I read a few of them. The only stuff I don't tend to agree with him on, he sometimes goes on rants on other creatives, and I was never crazy about that side of him because I don't think that was entirely fair. But some of it, like his, he's got like he's had gems. Like one of my favorite books that no one knows he did is a book called Spy Boy, Dark Horse.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That's really good. Like that,
Hmm.
I discovered it about 5 years after it was canceled, or like long after it was
Okay. Yeah.
canceled. And he actually tweeted me about that. They're like, this book's amazing. And he's like, yeah, damn. Yeah, this book should be going. Why isn't it? He actually, that's a good question. But probably the fact that you found out about this book 5 years too late is a bit of a reason why
Yeah.
they did not market
Yeah.
it worth a damn.
I liked his one of the stories he wrote was the Last Avengers story. And
Yeah.
that actually started in But I Digress. It was almost like a joke, right? But then as he's telling the story there and it's developing and everybody's like getting into it, everybody's saying this has got to be published. And lo and behold, a few years later, it did came out, and it was a 2-volume series, which is I consider still a fantastic read because the way how it's
Oh,
told and the way uh, how it comes to an is interesting. I don't want to tell any more about it, but
no, no,
definitely a
no,
good
no.
read.
There's
Yeah.
no, like any of David's runs are good. I think the most ironic run is his Aquaman run, right? Because they ended up going exactly in the direction they said no to him about. They ended like that part made me laugh. It's like we
Should
need
have
to go
never said
here.
no. Should
They
have
said
never said
no,
no.
and then a couple years later they go yes, and he's like, why? Like why? Why now? Right?
They
Because
couldn't think of anything better. That's the reason
well,
why.
yeah, I know, but that's the thing. Like it's like you had the guy there to do it. Why didn't you
Hmm.
just let him do it and see where it goes? Nope.
Yeah, probably just a different editorial staff at that time. They were
Yeah.
probably like the junior staff. They came up now and said, you know what, let's bring them back and do this.
Yes.
They didn't want to
Yeah.
do it before, but now they're gone.
Yeah, they did in Justice League, which is like, oh,
Yeah.
like oh my gosh, I saw that. He was like, I remember that. No, no, my like that was my like, but like I said, his Hulk sweets over. I go to the '80s, that was his thing. I love John Strander, especially in that era, was super good.
What did you like from John Ostrander?
Hawkworld. I really enjoyed the Hawkworld run. His Hawkworld, not his first his Hawkman run was like when he concluded that with was also really good, but the Hawkworld one was really fascinating because it was ahead. He had like I think Ostrander in the '80s was probably about 20 years ahead of his time, like in terms of the concepts he was talking about, and I really like people look at Suicide Squad, and Suicide Squad is undeniably great, but to
Have you
me
seen his work before DC?
some of it,
Okay.
not all of it. Like, I just like for me, so just a good difference. I got into comics in like 1990. I was like 10, like that, right?
Okay.
So I missed.
You
So
just
the
kind of
early
missed it.
'80s, I
Yeah.
missed a lot of stuff. I've caught up on some writers,
Yeah.
but not everybody because you just go forward and wherever your era is, right? I mean,
Right.
I missed Frank Miller's Daredevil run. I missed the early Teen Titans stuff. I just missed Crisis. I mean, and if you want to speak of the other guy, the most probably without him, DC wouldn't have a good cartoon series at all. Is Marv Wolfman. Most of the characters he made are pretty much everywhere now.
It's funny you mentioned Frank Miller Daredevil, right? To me, that's one of the greatest stories that I've read there as
Yeah,
well. And you can for the book, those books now they're actually not as expensive as they used to be because people aren't looking at it as much as they were before, except for like the first appearance of Electra and what's his name, Bullseye. Okay, those characters. Right? But the rest of the other issues that Frank Miller wrote, uh, those are easy to get
Mhm.
now. If
No,
you can't get the trade paperback.
yeah, no,
And
it's
then it's also great to see that because that art style that he did back then is different, way different from what he does now,
mhm.
right? But you can tell uh, in that art style where his art is coming from. It was so heavily Japanese influenced, right? Even the way that how he told the stories, right? He let the pictures tell the story, and there wasn't too many words. Sometimes I'd be reading that Daredevil issue, and I go, "Damn, this thing ended too quick." The rest of the comics take me like 5-10 minutes to read, and this one took me only a couple of minutes. I'm
But you
going.
also could,
I
but
feel like
you
I
also
didn't get my money's worth out of this.
but it also just could be because you enjoyed it so much too.
I
Like there are
did.
some books
I
that just
did. I
grab you and
did.
pull you for a ride. And like, I
Yeah.
want more. Damn
Yeah.
it! Right? Right.
And it was like that. And during that time, I was a big X-Men fan, right? And that was my number one book. But
Mm.
when Frank Miller was on Daredevil, that was the book I kept saving for last to read,
Hmm.
after my X-Men stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, that
No.
was a great time.
Yeah. No. Like that. Like I said, the late '80s. Like again, for me, it was mid '80s to early '90s. Was the big was my favorite era. But the early '80s had amazing stuff. The late '90s had some really fun stuff, even though that was a very different era as well. And then, like I said, and then we've been like it's like the good stuff's no longer like I'm not saying there isn't good stuff in comic shops. There still is good stuff in comic shops,
I
but
know exactly what you're talking about because, right, so you talk
yeah,
about the 80s being your era, and for me, it's the 70s, right? It doesn't,
yeah,
it's different from the 80s, but what I liked about the 70s is that they were coming out with all these new characters, right? And you had guys that were like popular back then, like Mike Kaluta, um, Charles Vess, Neil Adams, uh, these guys, and then you've got the Rudy Nebres, right? They just had these incredible art styles that were look great to look at as just pencils, whereas
yes,
today's modern art is so clean looking, right? It's so polished, and those guys were drawing off all the pulp heroes, which is the one of the eras that you like, that on likes. That's also an era that's my become my favorite era now as well. Uh,
so I don't know how much of a novelist you are, but I mean, I know you definitely read some. I don't know like where your love is between comics and novels. As I've gotten older, I love Michael Moorcock a lot more the older I get
Elric,
because
Elric,
because his shit's fun. Like I just realized I realized something about I realized this. He didn't care. He just told a really good yarn,
yeah.
and sometimes that's all you want, right?
And
And
that's all he told.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Elric was one of mine. And I had the run, and I have no idea what happened to that set of
yeah,
books, but
it
it should be up here,
yeah.
right?
No, for me it's Hawkmoon. For some reason, it's the simplest of his more well known ones,
Mhm.
but I just dig the whole evil empire, the jewel in the skull. Just it's a mad series. It's just absolutely batshit crazy, but it's
Yeah,
so much fun, right?
right.
And
Yeah,
so that's mine. But Elric's is obviously his big thing. I'm also a big fan of Polkadine and Mars. That's the other one I really like
okay.
from
Yeah,
that stuff. But there's other ones like Corm's fun. There's a few. Obviously, the Eternal Champion stuff is all great stuff.
yeah. Eternal
But
Champion. That concept is carried forward on so many things now. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and so like the Green Lantern run by Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp was a celebration of that pulp era. Like the Green Lantern comic, all that stuff was, and I know this because I have a lot of the original Green Lanterns from like like I don't have all of them, but I do have Sinestro's first appearance. I have a few other things like that.
Oh, cool.
So Yeah, no, I am the Green Lantern nut. I'm a big Green Lantern fan. The but that like Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp's most recent run was a
Mhm.
homage to those first 74 issues
Yeah.
of Green Lantern. It's like it's a complete homage, and they added like every pulp influence they freaking could is in that series. Like it's for really, really old school fans. Now, it might not actually have been the best Green Lantern book even at the same time because Bar Sector was amazing,
Yeah.
but it was a fun book that I think was going to be one of those books people are going to look at years later and go, "This is just damn cool." It was not. It's not the best Green Lantern run I've ever read, but it was fun, and I can respect like creators just doing stuff for the shits and giggles sometimes, right? Sometimes that's the best stuff.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Far Sector because that is a great series
Yeah,
to read. Yeah, really, really love that artist when she, especially when she put out her first novel, "A Hundred Thousand Kingdoms." Right? Have you? That's a
yeah,
great
no,
read to discover like the relationship between gods walking on the planet and civilization. Right? It gives you a different look on the interaction of that. So that was kind of cool to see.
yeah, no. N.K. Jemison's great. I'm actually
Yeah.
trying. She's on my. I've been trying to get her on my podcast. I've been trying because why not, right? Right? Because she's really good. I really no, but no, like that comic was my first intro. Then I started looking at some of her others. Oh, she's great. Like she's deserves all her awards.
Yeah. You.
And
Oh yeah.
all
Not too much people notice, but she's actually used one piece of Mog's art for one of her appearances at a convention in
really,
Florida. Yeah.
that's cool.
So yeah, she saw that and said, "Hey, I like she complimented Mog on it and asked if she could use that." So we worked out a deal, and then it happened. So it was kind of cool to see.
Like I said, Monk's great. I probably now we probably should let's ask the question, then we'll start drawing, and we'll see where we goop off until. How did you meet Mog? Like because obviously you were ready to leave. Like I don't know what else I'm going to do with my life, and then all of a sudden Mog comes into your life. So how did that all?
And so I had, like I said, we had a production studio, and we met this one girl. I think it was like 2004 or something like that, and she came from San Francisco, and this was at the Anime Expo in Los Angeles. She actually had a table next to us, so we got to know her, and she said she'll come next year and she'll bring a group of her friends, and then it's all these students that had graduated with her from the Art Institute of San Francisco, and Mog was part of it. So we agreed to meet at San Diego Comic Con the following year, and we met on the last day. I was like freaking dead tired because I kept walking back and forth throughout that con, talking to publishers and whatnot, trying to market our stuff. And we had dinner, and I didn't really get to talk to Mog that much, but she submitted her work to me, and I turned out this 8-page critique, right, which was much longer than I usually do. But I could see that of all the work that I had seen from that weekend, this was the best, even though it was like really, really super raw. So I said, I'll give her a lot of feedback. We'll see how she takes it, right? So it was like page of like negative, 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 right? But every negative there was a positive on it. I told her like how it could be corrected, right, or made better. So I was kind of like testing her to see how she was going to take that. Yeah, I thought this girl is just going to dump it, leave it at that, and we'll never see her again, right? But she called me personally
What?
and said thank you, and I go, whoa. Either she's got tough skin, which might be good, you know. So anyway, so from there we even after that we didn't really talk as much. And I think it was like a year later, she called me up and said she was working on this project and she wanted me to edit the story and the artwork. So I did. I worked with her on that, and from there we just kind of developed this relationship over the phone. So yeah, and 1 year, I think it was like 1 year after that, then we just started like getting together. She came down to LA. Um, and I think shortly after that, we got a place together. And yeah, that's when things started happening. As far as art goes, it didn't happen like right away because that was like in 2006. And we started, she actually got work with Tokyo Pop at that time. So she was doing that, but nothing came of it. Right? So I think at 2008 is when, I think maybe that's when they had folded or something. So she was like wondering what to do. She was asking me, "Can you just manage me?" And I go, "Oh man, I thought I was done. I thought I was gonna have the easy life there. I was about ready to retire and everything." So I said, "Okay, well, let's see what we can do here." And I was asking her like, "What do you want to do?" And she goes, "I want to do something kind of big." And that's when she brought in Game of Thrones. And I go, Well, nothing is happening with that yet, but there's like these little talks that were going on that something might be in the works. I said, all right, we can try to get ready for that and see what happens. And it was a long shot. So at that time, we were living in California. We moved to Wisconsin, and I went there to help my brother out because that's when the economy was just like tanked, and a lot of foreclosures were going on. My brother was in the same boat with that. So I went out there to help him, and then in the meantime, I had Mog doing illustrations and just posting them up where I thought, just casting a wide net, seeing what can happen and where it can go. Because she was undecided what kind of work she wanted to do: manga, comics, production, sequential art. She wasn't sure. So I said, "Oh, let's see what happens and see who bites." I got Game of Thrones, did that for, I think that was about a 7 year run. And and then after that, we just jumped on board the comics. It was an easy transition.
Well, yeah, after doing a television production for that long, in some ways, it'd be like it's almost the same thing. In some
Yeah.
ways,
Mm-hmm. Oh, they pay real good, so
yeah, why not, right?
yeah,
Hey, listen,
can't complain.
no,
Yeah,
not
there
even.
wasn't much for me to do once she got on there because they just gave her the assignments and then she took off. I just like would counsel her maybe on layouts, how to move the camera, things like that, but not too much. And then I just stay out of her way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's super important when you have a creative person that's taking on a project. There's a point where it's like you can talk and give advice, but when they're really starting to do it, you need to back the fuck off and let them do it,
yeah. Let
right?
them do the work. Let them do the
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what are you gonna draw tonight?
I don't know. There's a there's a couple things. Um, what do you have planned to draw?
I'm gonna be doing this. I'm gonna start here, and then I might grab another comic book cover up from this
Oh, okay,
up.
okay, I see.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm gonna start here. I'm just gonna have some fun.
Okay. Let me. I thought I had my stuff here. Let me go grab my stuff, and I'll be
No
right
worries.
back.
Go grab your stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to actually get serious with the drawing here, and cool. As I just get more and more people following me in the stuff here. But like no, just this I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while because Mel is a very interesting guy, has had a very interesting career himself. And I've enjoyed it every time. So I have talked to him. I figure you guys would enjoy talking to him too. So yeah. Like I said, and the thing I can't talk about, folks, March 20th, I will happily talk about. At that point, there's nothing there to me not to say. But yeah, things have been interesting this last week, and will be for a few more weeks yet. But that's all good. Life throws things. And it's all about what you do with it. So. Do, 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 do. So, folks, what am I drawing tonight? I am drawing the Last Ronin #1 cover. It's a simple cover, but it's an awesome cover because it's. Oh, I'm going to spoil it here real quick because if you haven't known by now, you should know. The Last Ronin. So, yeah. So, what you drawing?
Not sure yet. I'm going to take a quick look here. I have like a file that I keep of stuff that I'd like to draw. So I got. There's like something recently I wanted to. Something that I can pound out here.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite comic book cover, if you don't mind my asking? Or do you have just one, or maybe is that too hard a question?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. One of my all-time favorite ones, I believe it's Conan Annual #1. It has a Barry Windsor Smith cover. Where he's standing in the middle of like a stream. Okay. And what caught me on that cover is that you're looking through that stream and it's so clear.
Yes.
And you know, it actually feels like he's standing in water.
Yes. Barry Windsor Smith, in my opinion, is a bit of an unsung hero at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Because my favorite work of his was a Valiant book called Archer and Armstrong. I really dug that book.
I remember that. Yeah, for Valiant Comics.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was a big Valiant guy in the 90s. I actually have the majority of their first run. So now I grant you, when we get to the later stages of Valiant, it's not so good anymore. Mm-hmm. But that first 2 years, there's some really good books in there, and that was one of them.
What was your favorite Valiant comic book?
Back in the day, I enjoyed the first 2 years of Magnus. I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
I enjoyed Bob Hall's take on Shadow Man. I thought that was a really, really bold concept there because he pretty much wrote and drew the whole book for the whole run. It never really lost its it never really lost its tone. Like it was probably the most consistent book.
Okay.
I would say my favorite book though probably the first of all the original first 10 issues of Solar Man and the Atom, is still some of my favorite stuff from that era. I enjoyed Solar. The first 2 years of Magnus, probably the first.
Solar was good. I was reading Solar. That was good.
Yeah, no, it was really, really like the first.
But Magnus was good as well too. I think that was their best-selling title. Well, besides Harbinger, but Magnus was up there as well.
Believe it or not, at one point it was Archer and Armstrong.
Yeah.
At one point it was Archer and Armstrong was the best one, but Harbinger's good. It's just I'm in a weird spot with it because I think to me I'd say the first 12 issues of the Harbinger are again a lot of the first year of Valiant books. The first 12 issues are super strong. They're not.
Yes.
They're right. They're really, really good. The second year, it depends on the book.
Yeah.
Right. It depends on the book. Archer and Armstrong in the second year is not that good. It's just not. Right.
Yeah. So it's great to see some of those coming back.
Yes.
So that's great.
And from the Valiant 2 era, I was always a big Quantum and Woody fan.
Yeah.
Right. So, but in a world when you have both Archer and Armstrong.
I think I still have one of the posters from that Woody.
That's cool.
I'd like to see if I have it still. And great to look at it during this time.
Yeah, no, he was talk about another great writer in comics that no one really gives. He's got some love for sure, but I still think Christopher Priest is he still does really cool stuff even today.
Yeah.
So Interesting.
So I'm going to be drawing a headshot of Leia. I can't show it unless there's a way to like share screen.
You can if you want. There's the share
Mhm.
screen option is the middle button on the restream. So you go like you see the mute mic, camera, and then there's like a share screen button there. You see it?
Where did you say it was again?
Okay, so you know what? Okay, so maybe you don't have the option. We'll see. You know that there's a
Oh, wait,
microphone.
okay, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right. And there we go.
All right. I'm just gonna do this, and then I'm gonna go like this. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. All right.
That's really good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See if I can pull it off. Oh, I tend to draw these. It'll kind of look like the original, but not quite. But for me, that's if I can make it look okay and acceptable, that's good for me.
I don't know. I think you dropped I think you dropped pretty well, my friend. I mean, I watch what you're doing, and it's like you're like you have your own style. I think you could do some really cool stuff if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I've been working at this for a couple decades. It's not something that I pursue strongly. It's a slowly getting better, like every year.
yeah, nothing wrong with that. Like sometimes sometimes you just do things because. Well, here was the other thing for me about art. I had like this epiphany, and actually it's allowed me to get better at everything. Oddly enough,
Mm-hmm.
I stopped worrying about being perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once that happened, I was free to do more stuff. I just stopped worrying about it. It's like it could suck, but really, so what if it sucks? You know what I mean? It's just, and maybe that's a weird way of looking at it for some artists, but it's like it's the truth. I mean, that perfect thing freezes people up a lot more than people realize. And if you can free yourself from that, you make more stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is very true.
And by default, you just get better because you're making more stuff. And so I just worry about just trying to get better. Doesn't mean I get it all right every time.
Exactly.
I don't,
right.
But
yeah, because you'll notice, like, okay, you'll do something. Maybe you do the eyes, and it looks better than what you've done before, and you go, okay, all right, then that's an improvement. Okay,
mm-hmm.
So you work at it a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Right now, I've been playing with color. Right, I've been just playing with it. Doesn't mean again, I'm still got a long way to go, but it's like cool. I'm learning things, and
yes.
That's the important thing. It doesn't have to be absolutely 100%. I got this nailed down because that'll never I don't worry about that. It's like I don't need to get it all down. Am I just learning as I go? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that's it. That's all I worry about. The rest can figure itself out. Yeah. Yeah, I had a buddy, he makes guitars for them, and goes like, I wish I had that. It's like, yeah, don't worry about it. You get older, you get less of a shit. So, but for everybody, that's a journey everybody's got to figure out on their own too. I realize that.
Yeah. Everybody's at a different stage.
Yep. And that's it, right? So, I guess I'll ask you this question because you've done a lot of things on your own, and you've been very successful at it. You and Mark both. So, when you started, when you started going down this path of just getting better at or working on your own, were you afraid it wouldn't work, or was there a moment when you said to yourself, "Fuck it, it's just going to work"? You know what I mean?
Well, I kind of learned early on. It's not like a fuck it attitude. It's more like, okay, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. Figure out what works, right? When I do it again, improve what didn't work, and you just keep building on it, right? So I don't worry about like, oh, this is going to fail,
Mhm.
right? To me, you fail if you're failing if you're not trying, and if you're still trying, then it's not a failure. You know,
Yeah.
failure to me is like when you stop trying, then you can assess it. But if
Yeah.
you're still attempting to try and improve it or to get it better, it's not a failure. You're
Yeah.
still learning and you keep going.
I
So
agree.
that's my attitude. So I'm not afraid to try things. I'm not afraid of failure. Does it upset me at times? Sure, it does. You know, because you set expectations on there, and you want to try and get it right at times, but it's not. It's not possible. You're not. Can't figure everything out. It
Mhm.
takes time, but once you do, and you'll see that yeah, okay, it just takes that. If you read like these all these motivation books, tapes, whatever, they pretty much tell you the same thing. You know, if you want to succeed, just keep working at it and trying.
Mhm.
Eventually, you will get there.
Yep.
If you look at all those like success stories out there, right, and they constantly tell you the same thing too. You know, you just gotta keep trying. Don't give up on it. You will get there.
One of my favorite quotes of all time is success, better success checkered in failure than the gray twilight in between.
There you go.
Yeah. I always thought that was a good way to live. Never be afraid to fail, never be afraid to succeed.
Yeah, and they constantly tell you to chase your dream. Well,
Yeah.
you gotta chase it. You just don't give up trying.
Yep. I already messed up a little bit. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to keep going and see what comes of it.
Yeah, that's the attitude.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I used to when I didn't draw, I was like, well, what if it sucks? And then like I said, I had that like epiphany moment. So what if it sucks? It's not again.
Exactly.
Good is a relative thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Especially
Can
with
I?
art, it's eye of the beholder. It's very subjective.
Mhm. That's it. Like it doesn't have to be. It's not. It's not a. It's not like a master class in
Yeah.
figuring stuff out. You just have to. You just go. You know what? I'm gonna show up, and I'm going to do the best I can. And more
Mm-hmm.
often than not, it counts, right? Even if it doesn't count
Mm-hmm.
in the way you imagined it would, it counts. People respect that. They don't always respect other things, but they will always. They most people respect effort.
Right.
So that's what I've learned. All right. I'm also getting faster. I noticed. So maybe
And
I
that's
just
good.
yeah. I'm gonna have some fun here. Because one of my more recent things, I promised you guys last year I get to the coloring phase, and I have. I am at the coloring phase, although I'm still at the pencil crayon phase.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, can't be afraid to try new things. And
Exactly.
and my sister's a big fan of my um,
Oh yeah.
colored stuff. Yeah,
Nice. How old
yeah.
is
My
your sister?
what?
How old is she?
She is 39.
Oh.
She is currently going to graphic design school.
Oh no way. Really?
Oh, she is honestly probably more talented than I am. I don't say that with like modest humility. I'm a cocky bastard,
Mm-hmm.
but she's a world-class photographer, legit world-class
Yeah.
photographer,
Wow.
very talented illustrator
Mm-hmm.
in her own right. If the one thing I kind of look at her, and maybe she'll get this because of what she's doing, right? Is that confidence to go out there and just go for it. That's what I'm hoping for because she is too talented to not succeed, right? As long as she's willing to go out there and put that effort out there.
That's correct.
That's
That's what
that's
we've
how
been
I see
talking
her.
about.
That's how I've seen her for years. But I
Mm-hmm.
also realize that it doesn't matter how I see her, it's how she sees her.
Exactly.
Right?
But it's doesn't hurt to tell her.
Oh, I have.
You know.
I have. I have. It's not trust me, she knows what I feel. I'm very honest.
Good.
I'm very honest about that. She's also when I did a book launch a few years back, she hosted my show and she had me actually sounding like a goldfish. Think about that for just a second. Right? So way back in my archives and this is still just an audio show. But yeah, no. Love her to death. Incredibly talented person. But it's also maybe just also our approaches too. When I want to do something, I just go out and just I don't worry about it. I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's how I learn. I learn from just going out there and going, you know what? Let's see what I can do on my own.
Yep. Can't be scared.
No.
Give it a go. See how it turns out.
Well, I've said this along with Mog. I'll say it to you. The biggest rule thing I've learned in life. It's not the most talented people that succeed. It's the people that show up.
You are correct about that.
Yeah. So my job then, and I realized it's like this is the thing. I can't guarantee success, whatever I choose to do. I can't. There's no magic formula. If people knew what that was, everybody'd be doing it, I think.
That is right.
Right?
Yeah,
But
my attitude is I don't try to be successful. To me, that's a byproduct of the effort that I put into my work. If it happens, it happens, right? But can I improve my craft to a point where people are appreciating it? And if I can do that, then I think I achieved what I want. Whether it uh, that gets the fame and the glory or not.
that's fair. That's really fair. I look at it more like, okay. I do you know Colleen Duran?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You've I think you've interviewed her. I think I listened to an interview you did with her.
Yeah, no, a
Is that correct?
long time ago.
Yeah.
Like one of the I truly think that 90s group of indie creators,
Mm-hmm.
she I don't think she gets like again, she's very overt about it, but far and away I think with the possible exception of Jeff Smith, I
Yeah.
think she's done probably the best job of all of them because um, she knows, she understands, she's incredibly talented with what she does, but more importantly, she's probably one of the sharpest minds I've ever seen in the business. And one of my favorite things she talked about is that she calls it the paradox of success.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, you can do everything right. Life's not fair. You can do
Yeah.
absolutely everything right and still fail.
That is very true.
Right? It is possible. An old Star Trek quote from Captain Picard to Data. Mr. Data, it is possible to do absolutely everything correctly and still lose.
That is correct.
Right? And still lose.
I do love Star Trek. I'm waiting for the next seasons to come out on Picard and Discovery.
I enjoyed Picard, even though I think the pacing was a little off.
Yeah,
It was
the pacing was off.
Yeah, the pacing was off. I did enjoy it though. It had the right combination of nostalgia and just the take on Picard was very fascinating to me.
It was. That was very interesting. Even with Data, I found
That
that
made me sad.
kind of like
That
interesting.
made me sad in like the best way ever. Like that scene there is like ah
I'm sure that was like touching to like everyone.
yeah.
You
No,
know?
it just wow. Like that scene was, but it also made sense too because the actor Brent Spiner is, in all fairness, not in the. He's not a young man anymore. He can't
No,
do what Data did.
yeah,
So it made sense that they did something to write him out. At the same time, I was profoundly sad in that moment because it's just like part of my childhood died because I grew up with Star Trek: The Next Generation. My favorite Star Trek of all time is Deep Space Nine. Not gonna lie.
I, you know what? I will agree with you. I would love to see more Deep Space Nine. That stuff was just on the edge. When they got into like the later seasons,
Oh,
and they're dealing with what do you call? What are those guys called again?
Jemadar.
Yeah, the Jem'Hadar and Odo's people.
Oh no, no. So if people were to tell me, okay, so Deep Space Nine is one, Babylon 5 is 1A. If
Yeah,
you pick, if you like Babylon 5 over Deep Space Nine, I will not hold it against you. If you like Deep Space Nine over Babylon 5, I will not hold it against you. If you say both shows suck, something's wrong with you. That's how I look at that.
yeah,
Right?
okay, yeah. I have to agree with you there because I'm a big fan of Babylon 5 as well. I
Yeah.
remember watching the first season. I was like telling my friends, it's kind of good. But
Oh,
then when they came back with that second season, man, they just knocked it out of the park. And I'm going,
oh yeah.
this is incredible. Right?
And
So then
speaking
I
of
was telling all my friends to watch it and stuff.
and speaking of
Yeah,
Peter David,
I
he
got
wrote one of
into it.
my favorite
Yes. Yeah.
episodes of season 2, which was the one
Mhm.
with Londo's wives.
Yeah.
That was amazing to watch. He wrote that one, so
Yeah.
I really dug. No, it was the last. It was the last episode not written by JMS until season 5.
Mm.
But no, like so. Here's the thing. This is how I look at it. If you look at it strictly from cast, like just in terms of cast,
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine supporting cast, just the supporting cast, the guest stars, not the make stars, the guest
I
stars.
get, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. They were more complete characters than most other shows regular stars.
Yeah.
So that doesn't even touch their main characters.
Yeah. But
Major,
they had the advantage they had is that they had enough seasons to really build on that.
yeah, oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
they did an amazing job, right? And I also probably I had this conversation with Stone Abdullah. Major Kira might be it's in my top 3 like female protagonists of all time. Just because okay, no, it's just she was able like Nana Visitor was able
Okay.
to carry herself in such a way and thus Kira in such a way. You respected her, right? You didn't think
Mhm.
about how hot she was. You just respected her as a person, how she carried herself, the dignity, like the fact that she played this really badass hardcore character that had a really complex moral compass. It's like Kira was amazing, and the fact that she was like the second star, she was strong enough that they had, if Cisco had been killed off in an earlier season, to be the lead all the way through. That speaks volumes of and that's Kira, right?
Yeah.
So like the main cast, all of them have great stories. I mean, when you have to go all the way to Zial as the only character that wasn't maybe developed enough, and that's what like 40th on their tier list when you look at all their guest stars. It's like
Yep.
that is an incredible
That's
like
an incredible
cast.
run and cast.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah. I
it's
loved
just
it all. Right.
yeah,
I liked it too when what's his name? God, I forgot his name. The Klingon dude from Next
Worf,
Generation. Yeah,
Worf.
when he
Yeah,
came
no,
on
Worf,
there.
Worf.
Yeah,
I love what they did with Worf. I
yeah,
think what they
me
did
too.
with Worf was so.
I love that. And then when we were watching the Star Trek movie, The Next Generation, and he comes in because you're wondering if we're going to see him join in the fight, and he does.
Yeah, he
He
does.
brings in the,
It
he
makes no
comes in
sense.
there with his attack, and it was great to see him in action on there.
Yep. It made no sense. I didn't care.
Yeah, I
Right?
don't care.
I don't care.
It made perfect sense to me. He's part of the team.
No, it's like what are you part of this? Like, yes. Shh. But I don't care.
Yeah,
Just work. I'll let this part pass. I
you let
mean,
it slide.
yeah, I don't
He
care
became
enough.
part of the action.
Yeah,
Came in
yeah.
at the
I'd say,
right time too. Yeah, I was happy with it.
yeah. No, no, like,
I
but
was with
again,
that part. Yeah, I was.
so if you're gonna talk about like mythology, gravitas, I think Babylon 5 edges Deep Space Nine. If you're gonna talk complete story arcs, that really depends on what you prefer,
Yeah.
right? They were two different styles. You could go either way. They both worked. They did a wonderful job. Deep Space Nine characters grew almost as much as the Babylon 5 characters did. There was a major character from season 1, major character from season 7, Odo from season 1, Odo from season 7. Even I think my favorite overall evolution probably was Quark. Right,
Yeah.
like that. I never thought I would look at a Ferengi with that much respect until and but not just Quark, Rom and Nog deserve a
Yeah,
ton of
because
credit.
you in the beginning of the series, right? You kind of hate them, you know. I don't
Well,
not his son though, because he's still kind of like young.
yeah.
But then he starts changing his ways a bit, and is a little bit more compassionate to everybody that's around him. And how can he not be, right? Because they've done things for him,
So
that's helped him out and so forth.
my favorite scene. Okay, so my favorite scene before season 7 with Nog was when him and Cisco asked him, "Why do you want to join Starfleet?" And that was one of the most moving scenes, and like
That
that.
oh yeah,
That's so good,
that
and
was
again,
so not Ferengi.
but it was so real. You felt it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You understood it, right? You understood Nog in
yeah,
that
yeah.
moment. He had a
Because you see that he sees both sides of
mhm.
the world. Like he sees how the Ferengi are, and then he sees this other side with the Federation. So he starts questioning. What is good, what is interesting, and how should it be.
Well,
So,
yeah,
and you can see that developing in him, how he starts questioning that. So yeah, I thought it was a nice little uh, um, story to tell, to
mhm.
see how the impact that the Federation can have, and how other races, alien races, can get involved with the Federation.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's just like I think Rom blew me away when the strike, like you got to see
Oh yeah.
Rom become who he became,
Hmm.
and even like I hated Voyager. I'm not going to lie to you. I hate Voyager. I do. I can't help it. I just it's one of those. I don't hate the cast. I don't hate the people that were in the show. I just hate how that whole show was designed to be. It drove me nuts in like the absolute worst way because it could have been so much more to me. That's how I feel. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's how I feel about it. And I say it like that because I just look at what could have been with that show, and it hurts me every time. You
Hmm.
had this. Why didn't you do this? Right, but that's the thing. But D69, um, yeah, all the characters were so well thought out.
Yeah.
Um, like like my favorite episode in DS9, I think, was there's two of them. I really dug Far Beyond the Stars. I think that's just an amazing little story that I never thought would be told on any Star Trek, let alone that one. It fit so well.
Hmm.
I love Cisco causing the Romulans to join the Minion. That episode is amazing. Start like the whole story that is so well done.
That's the name. That's what I was looking for. Is the
In the Pale
Dominions.
Moonlight is what that one's called. It is Garrick and how Garrick and Cisco got the line.
That's another great character, Garrick.
Oh
I
yeah.
loved him as an
Oh yeah.
antagonist. He
But
was a great character.
The final I think my favorite character that didn't make it through the entire series was Vedic Barile. Very, very interesting character arc all the way through. But yeah, my favorite episodes, like those, like season 6 of Deep Space Nine, might be the best science fiction season of all time. It's just so many cool moments in that season.
You know,
Babylon
I have to
5
go and rewatch the whole series again. I was kind of doing that earlier with the other Star Treks, but I never got to Deep Space Nine. I was saving that as the last because that was the best for me. So and I kind of stopped. So now I got to hop back on and have to have this discussion with you again. Yeah.
Yeah. No. But I will say this: the episode that didn't make me cry was Babylon 5's final one, Sleeping in Light. I'm in tears at the end of that one. That one's just so. So where Babylon 5 was really cool to me was that it was able to play with mythology in some really cool ways.
Oh, yeah.
I love the Jack the Ripper episode. And anybody that doesn't watch that, like, you gotta watch it. It is not what you think, right? And it's just like, oh, that was good. Oh, that was so good. But Babylon 5 season 3 and season 4 are incredible. Season 5's okay.
Yeah, season 5 was kind of like lackluster, but yeah.
Well,
it starts picking up with season 2, and then 3 and 4 they really just get down to it. Yeah.
Yeah. But season 5, like the second half of season 5 is really good. The first quarter of it, you're like,
yeah, what happened here?
Yeah.
What happened here?
But again, but I also understand too. It was very much like they were like he was wrapping the show up. You can sense that. But yeah,
I love the costumes in Babylon 5 and the look of the aliens and the spaceships, and they're just like really different and so out there compared to what we see. It's not like Star Trek where it's all this mechanical hardware that we see like in the ships, and then now you're going to organic ships in Babylon 5, and that just really blew it out of the park for technology.
The physics of their space combat, the physics of it was the best. Like if you wanted like battle scenes, Babylon 5s were the best ones. Because they thought everything through. Like again, if you folks, if you're listening to us, if you preferred Babylon 5 to Deep Space Nine, I will not hold it against you. If you prefer Deep Space Nine to Babylon 5, I will not hold it against you. It's like chocolate and vanilla ice cream. Pick one. Nobody's gonna argue with you, right?
Okay. Well, what did you think about like Farscape?
I love the ideas of it. I wish it had a budget. That was my. I think that show could have been great. It was still good, but
I liked it, but it's not as good as the others. That's for sure.
Part of that was production values. Like so, you want the series that disappointed me the most from that era, but I'm not sure in one case what happened. I just know it just went off the rails. Earth's Final Conflict could have been so good. And I don't like that one. Felt like the studio tampered with that to death because you didn't even have the same cast season to season. So I don't know what happened there. I don't pretend to know what happened there. I just know that
there were some great things out of that series. The makeup was incredible. Even though it was irritating to some of the cast there, but it felt, I think it just had too much of the kind of like the Muppet feel in a way, because it was handled by Henderson, the Henderson Company. So, but I still kind of I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good.
And the other one
had a good cast.
And the other one that kind of hurt me because it also could have been good. Although this one, I don't think it went.
I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Andromeda.
Of course.
Yeah. Could have been good. It could have been. The
Yeah,
first season and a half is really good,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the
I think for me, I was kind of happy just to have those shows on there because there wasn't really too much sci-fi like in that kind of way, in that type of genre. And so I was just happy
I,
to see that. And
yeah.
then yeah. So just more space sci-fi kind of stuff.
Well, well,
And I'm still dying to see more if anybody's willing to do another series on something else. Yeah.
but when you're in an era with Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine, you better be good. Like you better be really good,
Yeah, the
because
competition
otherwise,
is stiff. Yeah, that's why
yeah,
I didn't get into like Farscape or Andromeda until after the Star Trek stuff was done.
yeah.
Because then again, I
You,
was like looking
you
for
were looking for
something
stuff
else.
to watch because you were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I,
And this was
I,
like in the late. This was like the late '80s already that I started watching that, and they were done like several years before already.
yeah. But no, I know what you're saying. It just, yeah, like I look at Star Trek now, and I think, well, again, maybe this is an old man yelling at clouds, right? Right, but I miss the. I thought, okay, DS9 had a really good balance between optimism and uh, and they had a good balance between optimism and like pragmatism. There was a good, like, there you could clearly see those lines.
Hmm.
I think even Picard, although Picard is still has a little of those lines, I feel like Discovery and some of the other ones, like they kind of crossed in beyond those lines. And I
Yeah.
think it took something a little away from what Star Trek was. That ideal utopia
Hmm.
feel you were going for is not
Yeah.
there anymore. And
But
I
we could
just,
see that utopian uh, concept being whittled away in the later um, the movies and the
yeah,
series. I thought, so, and what we've learned is utopian societies just don't really, they're not really all that utopian at all. And so
that's
I
okay.
think they had no choice, right, to kind of show like maybe some of the darker sides of it.
Yeah, so we're showing off our art, ladies and gentlemen, just because it's like, yeah, I'm playing with color. I think I still got a long way to go to get to you. This was the
Okay.
original, so yeah.
Yeah,
But I did it my way, and I had
there
some
you
fun
go.
with that. And I'll definitely,
I
I might.
did it my way.
Damn right, damn right.
It's all that counts, man.
Yeah, hey,
It's all
listen, I
that
might just
counts.
submit that into I might submit that bad boy into
Yeah,
your
sure.
drawing bid.
I can't do it your way. Then I'd be
No,
copying. So I got to do it my way. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So, okay, so I'm going to ask this because, and then we'll kind of gradually wind this down and wrap this bad boy up. You've been supporting creatives for a long time. Have you directly tried to be creative in the front, like with like Monks on Game of Thrones, and you definitely, like, again, you've helped manage her. You do comic shop. You supported a lot of, like, you're an art fan, right? But
Mhm.
but do you have any work that's like yours that's out there for the public to consume? I'm just curious. And do
No,
you
not
want to?
really. I've always been, when I started getting behind like the art and stuff, that was in my later years. And I just didn't have the kind of energy that I did before. So
No, it's fair.
even right now, I'm more taking like the back seat, counseling and running things for me. With Mark, I do make a lot of the decisions, right,
Yeah.
and letting her take control of that and guiding it to where we want to go. You And it's not as fast as like maybe some other people are doing, other artists or not, but it's on. To me, it's a better road. I'd rather see the growth slowly, um, and you'll hear this from a long time artist right there. Like same, I heard Brian Pulido say it not too long ago. Like he's interested. He definitely wants to go, introduce changes and grow, but slowly,
Hmm.
because he knows that if you go too fast, you're gonna lose. The business is just gonna run away from you. Right. So
Yeah.
we're just a two-person operation here,
Oh yeah.
and so I want to control it where. we can handle the workload. Anything more than that, then we're going to have to start hiring people.
And you might get to that point at some
And
point.
yeah, yeah,
And that's
hmm
fine when you're ready to do it, right? Because
exactly,
it
yeah,
makes sense. It makes
hmm
sense to do it that way. No, like but I also feel like you guys are still like it's a little bit are in an exploratory phase because you finished an awesome run with a television show,
hmm
and now you're just trying to like you have a reputation for that, which is awesome. But now
hmm
it's like, okay, this is like we mentioned Snowpaw earlier. That's Monk's first
yeah,
interior work. Does she want to keep doing that, or does she want to keep going to covers? And those are her own. Like she obviously has her own goals. I'm not here.
yeah.
I'm not here to ask what speak you speak
No,
for her
no,
on that.
yeah,
But I just feel like you're establishing your identity of who you guys want to be going forth that serves you best right now. And when you're doing that, you want to grow slowly because if you do decide to pivot, it's easier to do so when you get when you go 3,000 miles an hour. It's like, oh, it
yeah,
doesn't work. It never works when you
yeah,
do that.
yeah. So yeah, I was kind of like in touch with the industry before I got out, right? So when we got onto Game of Thrones, I lost touch. But before then, I had a really, really good pulse, right? And the industry during that time, especially with the way how the economy tanked in the later 2000s and so, right, kind of changed. So I had to relearn that, uh, reconnect with some of the people that I had back then, and so I could see that it was different. The market is changing; it's still changing right now.
It's
So
it,
it's trying to figure out like where that stable footing is at, and then to see what position we're going to be in. So when we came into comics, right, we started by doing covers, and Mog didn't want to do any of the like the sexy cover kind of stuff. But I told her, we should do some because you got to get your foot in the door somewhere. Okay, even though you got the Game of Thrones behind you, which is a good stepping stool for you. Okay, but you know nobody's going to remember you until you put out something new again. Okay, and the comics didn't know her. We do the cons, and we say Game of Thrones Illustrated. Oh, great! Well, how do you do that now when Game of Thrones is already done?
yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so yeah, so we get into that, and we're doing covers, and people are asking us, well, what about sequential art? Sequential pages. Like, yeah, okay, so we got a bunch of offers, turned it all down because it just wasn't the right one. Right, a lot of times they couldn't afford the page rate that we were asking for. Coming off of Game of Thrones, the page rate was pretty high, so we've had to lower our page rate considerably from what it was then. But we're still kind of like up there as far as like a page rate goes.
but
So it's just finding the right uh, uh, stories to put Moral's artwork with. And so we selected Snowpaw. You
with
and we could see that okay, this has a good story, and it's pretty decent, and it's not like the other stuff that's out there.
no.
Now we've got another series that we're going to be, I believe that we're going to be working on with Kurt Zauer,
Ooh,
Ruxy the Vampire. And I
okay.
think Mog's going to be the regular artist on that as well. So she's got two books where she'll be doing sequential art, and she's the regular artist on it. So that's on track with where we want to progress in the direction that we want to go. People constantly ask us, "Well, don't you want to put out your own books?" Sure, we do. And in time, we may see the results of that. But we've had ideas on putting out our own book for a while. But it's hard to do your own projects and try to bring in money because you still gotta feed
Yeah, I
me,
know.
you gotta and pay the rent and all that. So yeah, eventually we'll get to that point. But
No, you're in an interesting spot because I've had this conversation with Chuck Pano off the air, and this is like when we talk about price points, right? It's a really tricky balance because she's worth her weight in gold. You don't want her to work with just anybody, but you want to be so high you work with nobody.
right.
It's a really tricky balance, right?
Hmm.
You want to be selective in the best ways, right? And
That's correct.
also, the more money you charge, the more people willing to pay, the more they're going to respect you because they're investing in you,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
that's
It's
very
just
true.
good business that way.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
So we're lucky that we've been able to find the projects that where we can come to a mutual agreement on that is to work for both sides. Uh,
yeah,
do we want to take on more? Sure. We'll
yeah.
take on more until and see how much we can handle and put out. Yeah.
And once you have that figured out, you're also going to, again, the long term, you'll establish an audience for her as a comic book illustrator. And
Hmm.
that audience will translate to when she decides to do what I mentioned Colleen Duran, Colleen does,
Yeah.
right? She'll have a following that's ready to follow her.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Because if you'll notice too, like if you look at Mog's Facebook page, right, or a lot of artists, they'll have their friends thing maxed out, 5,000, right? And Mog's is low, right? And we've intentionally kept it low because we didn't want to build it up just to have the numbers, but we were looking for the quality people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the road that we've taken with almost every decision that we've made for her is to get quality. So, and that's why her count is, I think, still above like 2,000, and
Mm-hmm.
not even way up there. Even though we get the friend requests constantly,
Well,
we go
yeah.
through it, we look through it, but we curate it and see, okay, why is this guy asking us to be friends with us? This guy has nothing to do with art. Okay, declined, or not
Well, yeah.
accepting.
It's a strange balance. Like I'm not on Facebook quite as much as I used to be this year. I don't know if people. I don't know if you noticed. Like I've just taken a step back from it
Mhm.
because it's just like same thing. Quality of time, quality of Facebook is a great place to connect to good people too. But again, you have to balance that with the toxicity that comes with social media somewhat
Yeah.
too. And
Oh yeah.
and and if you're on social media all the time, you're not getting work done, right?
Yeah.
So. And
Yeah.
she needs to do that. You need to do that. Which, speaking of time, I think we have a good interview here, good sir. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the conversation we had and the nostalgia that we talked about. So yeah, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Well, no, dude, I've looked forward to this one because, again, Mog, rightfully so, gets a lot of praise. But when we have talked, you're a pretty cool dude yourself. It's like I
Thank
wanted
you.
to actually get that, and also you're a talented man in your own right. And I feel like, and that's why I wanted to ask if you had any other of your own creative stuff because even if I obviously maybe now is not the right time, and I totally get that. I would love to see you try something someday. I would just love to see it, just to see
Mhm.
what you could do. And I hope you take that in the as the compliment it is. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, if we get to the point where we're working on our own creations, and that is a goal of ours, then you will see that work that you're asking for. Yeah.
exactly. All right.
Okay.
So what do you want to promote? Like this is the part where I usually tell people to plug their stuff, but I don't know what Mog's working on right now or
Okay.
what you're
Well,
doing.
it's this is what I can tell you. I'm not promoting myself, of course. I'm promoting Bog. That's my partner, and we're in this business together. And she is at her work is at the forefront of it. Right. So you can catch her on Artist Alley Shopping Book Network every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Once a month, we have Draw and Bid, and that's coming up this weekend. You can get the details on that off her Facebook page. It's at the top of her page, so you can't miss it. Everyone is welcome to bid. Everyone's welcome to draw, and it's just there to have some fun and see what everybody does. If you're learning to draw, that's a great place to start. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
going to critique you on how bad you are, but if anything, they will offer advice on how you can better it. Okay. We just started putting out what is called daily sketch. Ron does a sketch every morning as like a warm up, and then we're just going to put it out there to sell. It's you just first one to claim it gets it. It's going to be $50 plus $10 shipping. And we put the first one on today, and that sold like within 4 hours. It was a White Queen, so you can go check that out. That's at Art Denmark Park. And it's a separate page which is more focused on her art. Whereas on her regular Facebook page, you see all kinds of stuff there, food, things that we do, and whatnot. Right? So we're
Yeah.
going to be slowly migrating to that other page for a more professional look.
No, it totally makes sense to me.
Right.
I just brought that up because that's where the draw in vid is
Oh,
right
fantastic.
now.
Okay. Yeah,
So
and you can catch Mog at all the at the cons this year. We will be doing a lot of fan expo cons. We'll be at San Diego Comic Fest in April. We're doing actually a Asian Invasion, a store appearance with Christy Shin, Don Wynn here in Manhattan Beach at the Comic Bug. That's owned by a good friend of mine. His name is Jun Goku. I've known him for like decades already in the industry. So go check that out. Um, we'll be in Dallas Fan Expo, Chicago, MegaCon, probably Rose City again as well, right? But eventually I'll be posting up a list of where we're going so you can catch us somewhere there.
very cool. So this ladies and gentlemen, is Mel B. He is, I'd say, a lot of fun. We could talk nostalgia about cool old comics and old science fiction shows anytime. And by all means, Mel, you're welcome to come back anytime you'd like to come back.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
will call you on that.
I'm sure you
All
will.
right.
For anybody watching and listening, this is my latest book release. It's Alice 1. It's Alice in Wonderland and mashed up with Greek mythology. Alice is Pandora. Alice chases the Queen of Hearts over the edge of the world and ends up in the Greek underworld, where to escape she must play croquet against Jason of the Argonauts. In this labyrinth, Alice and company encounter gods, monsters, and the most terrifying things of all, themselves. It's available now on Amazon. The link is in here, and it'll be in the description of this episode. By all means, if you want to support me, that's a great way to do so. Hit the follow button on my Twitch channel here, twitch.tv/justjoshingpodcasts. Stay inspired, everybody. Thanks, Mel, once again for coming on. I will see you guys next week. I got a pretty wild week ahead of me. I'm waiting for one more announcement. I actually might have some pirate metal coming on the show next week, which is really freaking cool.
Nice.
So, to everybody watching, everybody listening, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Stay inspired. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.
Take care.